Hello everybody, welcome back to X111 here once again. Today, as you can see in the title, we're going to go through a quick start tutorial on how to start the Zibo mod 737-800. So, without further ado, let's jump inside the cockpit and we'll get this bad boy programmed ready to rock and roll. So, when you first jump in, it's going to look very intimidating. As you can see, the 737 has an enormous amount of switches and knobs, especially on this overhead panel. So when you get into the airplane, what you first want to do is go down here to your tablet. You're going to go to the menu called Ground Services. Then you're going to connect to GPU. When you have done that, you'll go upstairs. You get the battery switch, which is right up here in the top part of the overhead panel. And then we're going to close this black guard right here. We'll close that. You can see the airplane coming to life. And when you connected the ground power, to get power from that, we're going to go ahead and we'll flip the switch down here. Now you can see the airplane is coming to life and everything will brighten up. The next thing you want to do is close the emergency exit lights. You want to close this black guard here. Close that. You're then going to go all the way up top here to the top part of this panel. We're going to flip these IRS switches here to nav. This is basically to get your map and everything showing properly. And to basically get your screens activated, if that even makes sense, we're going to go down here to the FMC. Going to go to your pause init page. We're then going to put in the airport we are at. I am at Dublin at the moment, which is Echo India Delta Whiskey. Going to put that here in the ref airport, right here. We're then going to go, we're going to hit this button that says next page. Going to take these GPSL coordinates. Going to copy those so they come down here on your scratch pad. Going to go back to, we're going to hit previous page. I'll put it into set iris position. And now your screen should come alive after a couple minutes when the iris are done aligning. In this tutorial, I will not go through the FMC because that's really not what I'm here to do. So now you can see my screens are coming alive. Yours might take a bit longer depending on what you have put on in your settings. And then now we're going to go ahead and we'll brighten up the cockpit. But to do that, you're going to switch these brightness knobs here all the way up. You can do it how much to your liking. You don't even need your brightness on if you don't want to, but I like to have them on. And just turn everything on here. There we go. Then also for the air conditioning, we're going to put in the altitude that you're going to cruise at for your flight. So let's say your cruising altitude will be 30,000 feet. Then you're going to put in 30,000 right here into your air conditioning panel. You also want to turn on your trim air valve, which doesn't really do much, but just prefer to have it on. We're also going to turn on our window heat. Again, it's not really needed, but that's what they would do IRL. Turn that on. And now we have got the aircraft in a state where we can go ahead and we'll load the airplane. So let's go back here, home. We'll hit fuel, weight, and balance. Go to the payload page, and then you put in as much fuel and payload as you need. So let's say I'm doing a flight here from Dublin, let's say down to London Gatwick. I will need around 6 tons of fuel, which we'll put in 6.0. The fuel you will put in whatever your flight plan says, and you do not need to put in 6,000 all the time. That's just we're just doing it for the tutorial. Same with the payload. You're gonna put in whatever your flight plan says. I'm just plugging in some numbers. Let's say 18.2 thousand kilograms of payload. Now you're gonna hit the back button like I just did, and you're gonna call the fuel truck.
Ground flight deck hose is connected and starting refueling.
You can hear he's gonna start refueling. You can also hit start flight leg to get your passengers loading. You can hear them going on in the back. As you can see now my fuel is loading. You can see here on the actual page here. So we're now going to wait for him to load, and I'll see you when he is done loading. One thing I also would like to mention is depending on where you fly, depending on your weather and everything, you can also change your barometric pressure on these knobs right here. You can see now my altitude is changing depending on where I am and what the weather is. 1013 is basically the default, and you can also put it in inches of mercury. Here you can zoom in and out on your map. Right now I haven't got any flight plan in, but you could see that I would be zooming in and out.
Ground to flight deck, fuel is all loaded up and you are good to go.
There you go, he's calling us. He says his fueling is done loading. We've got payload and everything is loaded. Go back home. We'll go ahead and we'll cancel the flight leg because we're not on boarding. You don't need to turn the start flight leg on. The aircraft will load anyway, but I personally just like to have it on. So now let's go ahead and we'll start up the APU. To do this, you put on your aft fuel pump. You can obviously turn on all of them, but to start the APU, we gotta have the aft fuel pump on. We're then gonna flip the APU switch down here, 2 notches down, so this is on. Then we're gonna flip it to start. You're gonna hold this for about 3 seconds. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Then gonna release it, and then you can see the EGT rising. We'll now wait for the APU to start. So now our APU has started. To see that your APU is fully available, your APU gen off bus will light up. To get APU power, you will flip these 2 switches to on. So 1 and 2, and you can hear the buses transfer. You also want to keep the APU bleed on. You can turn off the engine's bleeds until we are done pushing. So we now got APU power. The aircraft is done and loaded. We'll get the seatbelt signs on. Don't really need to worry about that. And then now we are ready for pushback. So let's call up the pushback guy.
Hey Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
I'm gonna push this way right here.
Great news, Captain, your tow's coming.
So now when he's driving up, we can go ahead and we'll turn on all our fuel pumps to get fuel, obviously. We can turn on our 2 electronic hydraulic pumps. And then one thing you need to make sure, which is super important. So this is your air conditioning panel. One thing you need to make sure for engine start is that your packs are off and that your APU bleed is on. This is crucial for your engines to start. If these are set to auto or high, your engines will not start. That is very important to note. The APU bleed you will turn on, which is also very important, and your engines won't start otherwise.
Alright, looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect.
Because it basically brings power to the engines and some air into the engines, and they will start. Don't count me into that. I don't really know that stuff because I'm not a real-life pilot, but that's what I've been told. So I'm gonna wait for him to connect. One very important thing that I got to
Welcome
mention.
aboard, Captain. Tow's connected, bypass pins inserted. Go and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
That this is completely my fault. We gotta disconnect the GPU. So when you see that when you have got APU power on your gens, you disconnect the ground power unit. If you forget to turn off the gens, your aircraft will go completely black. But anyways, now he is connected, so we'll go ahead and we'll release our parking brake right
Here comes the pushback. Light them up.
So now we'll start up our engines. To do this again, we gotta make sure our left pack and right pack is set to off. Our isolation valve is open. This can be set to auto, but doesn't really matter. And your APU bleed has to be on. What we're gonna do then is we're gonna set this engine start to start number 2. We're gonna go here and you put this to ground. Now you can hear engine slowly roaring up, and then you and then you're gonna look here on your lower engine display. We're gonna wait for about 25% at 2 before we introduce fuel. When you hit 25%, we're gonna introduce fuel right here. And now your engine will fire up. So when this switch flicks back to auto and will do it itself, we're gonna start number 1. So we'll put number 1 to ground. I'm gonna do the same exact thing, wait for 25% and introduce fuel. So now our tow is gonna disconnect. We just did.
And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
So we did the exact same thing on engine number 1. We flicked this to ground and we introduced fuel when the N2 is at 25%. When you have done that, you have around 19.5 on your N1 on both engines. Your engines are then stable. What you then want to do is put your engine start switches to continuous and continuous. We'll then flip on our buses so we get power from the engines. We're gonna flip number 1, number 2.
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the right. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
So when we have disconnected from the APU gen, we can turn our APU off. It is a far up position of the APU power switch. I'm then gonna turn engine bleeds 1, 2 on, and APU bleed can come off. Now, when your engines have started, you can go ahead and you can turn on the air conditioning so they get air back in the cabin. Then you'll go ahead and put your left back to auto, right back to auto, and isolation valve to auto. Now you can hear the air conditioning going in the back. You can then go ahead and we'll turn on our probe heat and our yaw dampers. And we have got a good engine start. You can see now we have a stable engine start. And when you are ready for taxi, you'll go ahead and you'll taxi to the runway. So that was pretty much it for this tutorial. We have now got engine started and everything is good. You can see me rolling here. I'm just using my rudder to control the nose wheel steering, as you can see. But yeah, I might make a FMC tutorial at some point in the future, but not 100% sure. There are definitely other tutorials out there. But yeah, if you found this tutorial helpful, I would really appreciate a subscribe and a like on this video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.